What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Paul. This is the Leeds Therapy. I do hope you are doing well. Thank you as ever for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. Before we get into today's video, if you could just make sure that you are subscribed, your notifications are turned on, that you're liking and hyping, and that you're commenting on the video for me as well, please. If you're listening to the audio version of this, just make sure that you are following either on Apple or on Spotify. And yeah, like it for me as well. That would be greatly appreciated. So in a bit of a whirlwind transparency from what happened yesterday, I thought it would be a good idea just to there's a couple of updates floating around and a couple of things that I wanted to just kind of touch on and have a chat with you about. So currently recording this, I feel it's important to say the times. Currently recording this at 15:30 on the 24th of July, and we're going to look at, there's four players in particular that we're going to look at today. There's the Shea Charles stuff, there is DEMIROVIC, there is James Trafford, and there is also just a little bit of news with regards to Lucas Perry as well. I think, that was a bit of a pause, sorry. I think we'll just jump straight into it because it just makes it easier, really, I suppose, doesn't it? So, looking at the James Charles situation at this moment in time, and it is a situation now, and I do really believe that Leeds are probably at the end of the road with it now. So, Leeds United's interest in this Southampton midfielder has never really been in doubt. Charles is young, physically capable, comfortable receiving the ball under pressure, and able to operate both as a defensive midfielder in a slightly more advanced central role. He also knows the demands of English football, and after his loan spell with Sheffield Wednesday, Leeds clearly believe he is capable of stepping into Farke's squad and immediately competing for a place. The problem has not been convincing Leeds that he is the right player. The problem has been convincing Southampton to sell him at a price Leeds consider reasonable. Leeds have reportedly seen 3 offers rejected during the course of negotiations. The numbers being reported have varied slightly depending on the source, but the broad picture is that Leeds increased their proposal from around the 20 million mark to approximately 23 million plus add-ons, before a further offer reportedly reached somewhere around 25 million. Southampton have continued to hold their position. Simon Jones of the Daily Mail previously reported that Leeds had raised their offer to 23 million plus additional payments. He also noted that Manchester City are understood to hold the sell-on clause, which may be one reason Southampton are determined to maximise the overall value of any deal. The latest significant development is that Leeds are reportedly not currently planning to submit a 4th bid. That does not necessarily mean the transfer is completely dead. Reports suggest that the existing proposal may remain on the table, giving Southampton the opportunity to return to Leeds should they reconsider their valuation or fail to generate a better offer elsewhere. That's an important distinction. Leeds have not necessarily walked away and slammed the door behind them. Instead, it looks as though they may have reached the point where they are saying, we've made what we believe is a strong offer. We're not going to continue bidding against ourselves. And to be honest, I absolutely agree with that. I think it's the absolutely right approach, and I think they've played this perfectly as far as I'm concerned. There does come a point in every negotiation where enthusiasm has to be balanced against discipline. Charles is a very promising player, but Leeds cannot allow one transfer to consume an unlimited amount of the budget, particularly when Farke still needs improvement in several areas. There's also been reported competition from other Premier League clubs, with Fulham and Crystal Palace previously linked. And if you are to believe reports, Fulham have put in a £24 million bid, which has been rejected, I think. Potentially, don't quote me on that, but that's what I've heard. That does create a risk for Leeds, because Southampton may believe another club will eventually arrive with a proposal closer to their valuation. However, reported interest and a formal offer are two very different things. Until another club actually puts the money on the table, Leeds' bid remains something Southampton may eventually have to reconsider. From a footballing perspective, Charles still makes complete sense. He'd provide high athleticism and defensive awareness in midfield. He can receive the ball from the centre-backs, cover ground, and give Leeds another option when Farke wants greater protection in front of the defence. He's also only 23. So Leeds would be buying a player with the potential to develop and retain significant resale value. But the situation this afternoon is relatively clear. Leeds remain admirers of Shea Charles. Their latest offer appears to remain available. However, unless Southampton alter their position, Leeds do not presently appear willing to keep increasing the fee. This one's not officially over, but it has undoubtedly reached a stalemate. Now, the next one, the ever reoccurring name of Ermedin DEMIROVIC. Next we move on to DEMIROVIC, and this is one of the more intriguing links to emerge over the last 24 hours. Sky Germany have reported that Leeds United are among the clubs interested in the Stuttgart striker, alongside Juventus and Fenerbahce. Immediately that tells you Leeds would not have a straightforward run at the player. Juventus can offer the prestige of one of Europe's biggest clubs. Fenerbahce can offer significant financial incentives and the opportunity to play for a side expected to be challenging for major honours domestically. And Stuttgart themselves can offer Champions League football. So while Leeds' interest is noteworthy, this is not yet a situation where anyone should assume a deal is close. DEMIROVIC is 23 years old and has developed into a highly productive Bundesliga forward. He has reportedly scored 43 goals in 87 appearances for Stuttgart, which is an excellent run and explains why several clubs are monitoring his position. He is not simply a penalty box striker who waits for chances to arrive. He is physically strong, competes aggressively with centre-backs and works hard without the ball. He can play as a central striker, but is also capable of drifting into wider areas, linking attacks and creating opportunities for teammates. That versatility is likely to appeal to Daniel Farke. Leeds need someone capable of leading the line in the Premier League alongside DCL. But they also need a forward who can contribute when the team does not dominate possession. In the Championship, Leeds could often pin opponents back and create repeated attacks. In the Premier League, there will be periods where Leeds have to defend deeper, play through pressure and make the most of fewer opportunities. A striker like DEMIROVIC can give you that. He can protect the ball, bring in midfielders into play and allow the team to move up the pitch. Reports from Germany suggest there may be some disagreement with Stuttgart about his future. Sky Germany reporting, as relayed by Get German Football News, indicates that head coach Sebastian Hoeneß may be open to a sale, while figures within the club's administration are less convinced that allowing him to leave would be their right decision. That internal debate could be important. When a club is completely united around keeping a player, the message is normally very simple. He is not for sale. When different parts of the club hold different views, the door can open in a sufficiently strong moment if a big enough offer arrives. Other reports suggest Stuttgart may consider selling if they receive what is described as a serious offer. Although DEMIROVIC himself is believed to be interested in remaining with Stuttgart and playing Champions League football. That is the biggest obstacle for Leeds. It is one thing for Stuttgart to consider a sale. It is another thing entirely for Leeds to convince the player leaving Champions League football for Ellen Road is the right next step. Leeds could offer in Premier League football an important role and potentially the opportunity to become a focal point of the attack, but they would have to make both the sporting project and the financial package extremely attractive. At this stage, I would see DEMIROVIC as a target rather than an advanced transfer opportunity. The interest has been reported by a strong source in Germany. Stuttgart may be open to discussing his future, but there is no reliable indication yet that Leeds have submitted a formal offer, agreed personal terms, or moved into advanced negotiations. This one, it's worth watching, but I would say nothing more than that because we're not yet at the stage of booking medicals or tracking planes from Leeds Bradford Airport. Now, let's move on to the biggest transfer news at this moment. We do know that Leeds United are in talks with Manchester City over a deal for James Trafford, and the latest reports suggest Leeds are now in a strong position to sign him. The Athletic reported that negotiations were taking place and that Trafford was leaning towards a move to Ellen Road. German journalist Florian Plettenberg subsequently reported that Trafford remains on the verge of leaving Manchester City, that Leeds are now in pole position, and that the goalkeeper is opening to the idea of the move to Leeds in order to play regular first-team football. TalkSport have gone even further, reporting that Trafford is closing in on a move to Leeds and could become the club's highest-paid player. They also suggest discussions have included the possibility of a release clause being inserted into his contract. I know a few people got a bit upset about this yesterday. However, with that being said, it isn't uncommon. It genuinely isn't. There are different figures being circulated regarding the transfer fee. Some reports place Manchester City's valuation at around £50 million, while various social media accounts have repeated substantially lower estimates. At the time of this video being made, there does not appear to be a universally agreed, reliably reported fee. That is important because Leeds are in talks does not automatically mean Leeds have accepted a £50 million valuation. Deals at this level can include guaranteed payments, performance-related add-ons, sell-on percentages, buyback clauses, or other protections for the selling club. Manchester City may want to preserve some control over Trafford's future because he's still only 23 and remains highly regarded. From Trafford's perspective, the reason for moving is obvious. He needs to play. After returning to Manchester City from Burnley, his pathway to becoming the established first-choice keeper was blocked. When Gianluigi Donnarumma came in ahead of him, Trafford's opportunities in the Premier League were limited. He reportedly made only 4 league appearances last season, although he was used more regularly in domestic cup competitions. At 23, another season spent largely on the bench would do very little for his development. A move to Leeds would give him the chance to play every week in the Premier League, establish himself as a genuine number one, and strengthen his case for future England recognition. For Leeds, this would be a major statement. Trafford is still developing, and he is not a flawless goalkeeper, but his potential is enormous. He is comfortable with the ball, he's capable of starting attacks and confident playing behind a defensive line that wants to build from the back. He also demonstrated at Burnley that he can perform consistently over a full season. His Premier League experience was more difficult, but young goalkeepers often develop through exactly those challenging periods. The key consideration is the cost. At £25 or £30 million, Trafford would represent a substantial but understandable long-term investment. At something approaching £50 million, the pressure and expectations would be completely different. Leeds would need to be absolutely convinced that they were signing their first-choice goalkeeper for the next 6, 7 or 8 years. The strongest information available this afternoon is that talks are active. Leeds are in the leading position and Trafford is extremely receptive to the move. What we do not yet have is an official agreement between clubs. There is no announcement, there's no confirmed medical, and there is no universally established final price. So this is advanced and increasingly positive, but it's not yet completed. However, if you listen to the jungle drums in and around everywhere, it is extremely, extremely close. When you look at the caliber of journalists that are reporting it now, they wouldn't come out because the particular journalists, Fabrizio Romano, they all love a tap-in, don't they? That's generally the way that it goes. So, moving on to Lucas Perry. So what does this mean for Lucas Perry? Today, Fabrizio Romano has reported that the loan move to Torino is back on again and that it's close to being completed. Now, if that's the case, and this ties in with the Pickford side of things, that to me screams that Trafford ties in with the Trafford things. That screams to me that the Trafford deal is getting closer because there isn't any way we would let Perry go unless we were confident that the Trafford deal was going to go through. But not only that, I believe it was reported out a little while ago as well, is that was what they were specifically looking to do, is make sure that the Trafford deal was in place before they let Perry go. So the early reports suggested that Torino were primarily interested in a loan while Leeds wanted the permanent transfer. What it looks like at the moment is that the agreement would be a loan with an obligation to buy. Perry's got 3 years left on his contract at Leeds as well. So it'd be his wages off the book for a season, and then there'd be a fee at the end of next season that they would pay with the obligation to buy. So again, it's a case of watching this space. But when you look at it, it's how you view it for dominoes and how they all fall into place. So concluding everything all together, the Shea Charles thing, I think Leeds have been sensible with this. We know that Fulham have actually put money on the table now, which has been rejected. So Leeds just need to go, look, that's our offer. We'll leave it there. You take it or you leave it. We can move on with it or we can move off with it. It's fine. We know that Trafford is the kind of number one, quote unquote, target that we are looking at. So he's the more important one. So the Trafford side of things is a typical Leeds United thing. These things tend to move very, very quickly and they move at pace, like very, very fast. These big deals, sort of out of nowhere, and then suddenly they're just ready to go. DEMIROVIC, it's conflicting reports with DEMIROVIC, so you can believe it or not believe it or take it with an absolutely huge pinch of salt. That's the way that I would look at it, and it does look like now that Perry is out the door. So that's going to do it with this one. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please don't forget to click the like button. The important thing now is the comments. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Let me know your thoughts, your opinions, all of that kind of good stuff. Make sure you subscribe, your notifications are turned on. If you're listening to the audio version of this, just make sure you're liking it. particularly if you're on the Apple or the Spotify side of things as well. So, it's going to do it for this one. I'm going to pop off and go and do my own thing. Take care of each other. Most importantly, take care of yourself. I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy. Cheers.